Okay, we're live again.
Again,
Seems like yesterday.
like riding a bike.
Well, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Binder. For years, Adam, the whole
Years.
for years, and I think you know this better than most. For years, the hotel industry has accepted a quiet truth, or maybe not so quiet. Standards exist, but execution varies.
Mm.
Property to property, shift to shift, manager to manager. And for a long time, that was just, how it worked, right? But we're starting to see a shift. Um, and taking into consideration all this chaos in our world, labor volatility, rising guest expectations, you know, operational complexity has been a big one. Um, Standards and binders and PDFs and on SharePoint and over there and in training, more training. Um, we're starting to see global hotel groups are recognizing the problem, um, and it's not defining standards anymore. It goes so much beyond that. It's distributing and operationalizing standards consistently across thousands of people, all these different departments, all these different properties, and we're starting to see proof of that shift. Um, the obvious one was our recent announcement with Radisson Hotel Group that has selected Yippee for their standards management with our hospitality standards management system. So today, I thought I would talk with you about unpacking those signals, why these global brands are rethinking how standards actually work, what's driving the shift, and why we believe the industry is at an inflection point.
Yeah.
And we're in talks and have been with other big brands. So we're really starting to see this shift.
Well, I mean, I think when we look at it, it's been the quiet gnawing that's been happening at this industry. What we've seen is over the last and to be nerdy here, 100 years, we'll call it, right? Hospitality has done a complete metamorphosis on how hospitality runs and is operated and accessed and everything, right? I mean, when you go back 200 years, even, you know, sounds old for a country like ours, but for the rest of the world and for the industry, it's actually not that long. The industry had, run very smoothly as a smaller or more independent style hospitality, but now with the um, larger traveling base of humans, we travel a lot more now, and with branded hospitality, very particularly branded hospitality in this case, coming onto the scene, like what, 1950s is really when branded hospitality really took off in the United States and then throughout the world, from as far as like brands and so forth. And we saw this, like, this mega collection, right? Marriott's and Starwoods, and then that merger, right? And the Hilton and Holiday Inn, and all of these things, these brands skyrocket. They grow, and they, I use the word creep in, and not in the bad way, but it grows out, and all of a sudden we have branded hospitality. And what is powering branded hospitality is the standards. The standards are the brand. Um, I was talking with a brand leader who put it very plainly as this: a brand offers two things, guest loyalty and standards. And ultimately, it comes down to the brand offers standards, because without those standards, there is no guest loyalty. So the brand offers standards, and managing those standards, understanding those standards, defining those standards over the course of that history of, at least, the growth of the industry and so forth, has been a monumental lift. It has been, I think, one of the most challenging things that our industry faces, because there's so much variation. There's so much, okay, great, come on board with your hotel. Amazing. Oh, okay, this is how we run it. Oh, we do things a little bit different over here. okay, well, in this region, it's going to be different than in this region, but these are the things that you have to do the same. And then that just grows and grows and grows and grows. And there is not a single brand operating today, hands down, period. I'll put an exclamation point at the end of this sentence. There is not a single brand operating that does not have standard confusion of this brand, this property does this property does that, this region, this, oh, you have this type of property, so it's different. And so, I think to get straight into the question of, how do we really look at, oh,
You
did I lose
froze.
you?
Did I freeze or did you?
I think I froze for a
I think
second.
you froze.
I'm back though.
You're back. Well, so yeah, I think you were getting there. Why are hotels of why are these big brands and large hotel groups even getting they have well the brands have same standards but they're getting different results. I
Mhm.
mean, is it just complexity or what's happening?
Well, I mean, it is certainly complexity. I think that that's a huge part of it, but it's also cultural adaptation. It's also understanding of the standard. It's also how is it being distributed? Does it even get distributed? Does it actually land to those places? And so when you look at these brands, these large brands, they're distributing standards. They exist, but I would argue that they're not making it to who needs to receive it, right? They're not making it to the front line because it's so convoluted. The clutter that it has to cut through, the digestion of, okay, what is it that we have to do at our property? What do we need to do? You know what? Just go be nice. Just go be nice. We'll take care of it. Do the right thing. The right thing. But
Ugh.
what ends up happening is we then go do what we think we is the right thing. We get an audit, we learn, oh, that's not the right thing. And that's where we learn our standards in branded hospitality. That's where standards are taught, is in the audit, which is the absolute wrong place. And so why do you get the same standard, different results? Is because you are sending out a giant chunk of standards that the brands are saying, okay, property, figure this out. I think we've got it clear enough that you can solve the Rubik's Cube. We've made it movable. But the brands then, or the properties then get it and they go, I don't know about this, and then they figure things out, and so or they make their adjustment, and then they have this quality assessment that comes through and says, oh, yes, you're aligned, no, you're not aligned, and then they have to do a realignment after that. So oftentimes it's disconnected by three or four perspectives, including the guest perspective on how it should be delivered at that property.
Just the duplicative nature of
Mm,
standards in a large organization and then the complexity if you layer on um, different property types and different geographies. And I've heard you tell this a couple times now, but the dairy example is mind-boggling. It's like
yeah,
holy smokes!
yeah.
Back to the Rubik's cube. Give the dairy example.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at a large brand, right? Let's get there. You look at a large brand and they say, okay, we've got to have milk for breakfast. Well, what kind of milk? Well, on this property, you've got to have whole milk and 2%. Well, this property, you need to make sure you also have non-dairy types of milk. So you need to have oat milk or other plant-based milks. And oh, wait, well, we want four types of milk. Well, this brand that's within our same company, this brand offers two milks, but this brand needs to offer four milks. And by the time you're done, when you're looking at brand management as a whole, you've got 300 different standards relating to giving someone milk. And you think of this and you think, oh my gosh, like this is ridiculous. Like, how do we even get here? Because it gets duplicative, like you were saying, right? Over time, what happens is someone says, oh, this brand, it's a little more luxury. We need to offer a better selection. So this is four. Well, then nobody says, well, should it just be four for everybody? No, 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 no. That four doesn't get translated. So this brand offers four milks. This brand offers two milks. But then somebody in this brand said we should do, non-dairy milk. Okay, so add that on there. But nobody ever asks the question, well, what about the other brands? Is this does this go laterally or vertically? How does this move? Again, because everything is treated in such silo in this industry, that then you end up with this kerfuffle of someone that's actually trying to manage the whole thing as a whole, going, which milk standard do I distribute? We're looking at standards with organizations that have 10, 20,000 standards.
Mm.
And when you deduplicate those, when you really go through and you really, okay, you've got 2,500 standards. There is a huge difference in trying to manage 2,500 standards versus 10 or 20,000 standards. Huge difference.
Yeah. Defining your standards, then organizing your standards
Whew.
in a manner in which a general manager in Houston, Texas can find what he needs is a big step. But then how do you operationalize those standards?
Well, I think what it comes down to is it's back down to the first part, which is, does the person doing the job know what the expectation is? Because you can't operationalize something you don't understand or that you don't even know. So I think the first step of this is, I've got to define the standard clearly. Great. I need to distribute it to my organizations, and I need to make sure that property, that, just like you're saying, this general manager, when they open up their standards, they need to look and say, I'm only seeing what's applicable to me. I don't care what they're doing in, if I'm in Texas, I don't care what the requirements are in California, or I don't care what the requirements are in Europe. And honestly, I've seen brand manuals that this is like the brand standard manual, and it will refer, oh, but if you're in this other brand, like, I don't even care about that other brand. I only care about my brand. And so, how do you operationalize it? Step one, understand and deliver, right? Define and deliver what is only relevant to that property. Two, how do you operationalize this? How do you do it? How do you deliver it? Well, it's understanding, how does our ecosystem, how does our culture and our property inject this standard into reality? How do we do this? I think a lot of times people look at standards and they say, oh, this is how you have to do it. And it's like, no, 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 you still have to have your soul. You still have to have your hospitality piece of you delivering this. The standard is basically just saying, hey, we want the guest to feel this way. Make sure you do this to make sure that they feel it. And where that gets inserted, I think, is why we have hoteliers. That's why we have humans doing the job, and not just robots.
Right.
Sure, there's place for them, but we have humans doing it because we understand, how do we put these standards into effect? How do we insert them at the right moment, at the right place? And by understanding what the standards are and understanding what the result should be, we can tweak that. We can say, actually, we really should say hello before we say goodbye. That's more impactful, right? I should do this before I do that, or I should do this. This job is actually done at the front desk, not by the bellman. Or no, the bellman should be doing this, not the front desk. Because we're starting now to understand how it impacts the guest, and we're not just trying to figure out, are we doing it?
Yeah.
Small opinions, huh?
Well, so if you're skillful enough to get all that straightened out, and then your staff begin to deliver standards that you have agreed upon that are accessible, then you're going to want to measure. You're going to want to understand, are we delivering our standards? How well are we delivering our standards? And so you can audit, you can in our world you can real time audit, and then there's other secret shoppers, and there's
Yeah.
all the other options, right? So they're all good, right? I mean, you would recommend a variety of
Oh,
ways
yes,
to
please.
audit, right? Yeah. Well, then you get data that you can use, and then hopefully you're getting it. Like again, we can do it in real time, and that's very useful, like on the spot, or 30 minutes later. If you're doing a big audit with a third party, maybe you get it a week later, and you still have useful data. And then comes what? Training. But why does training kind of training seems to fall short? Do you agree or disagree? Or
I think that
I don't want to give trainers a bad name.
no. I mean, hey, I'm
You're
a
a
football trainer.
trainer.
I'm a trainer. Watch where you tread here. I would say this. I don't think that it's not that they fall short in terms of training not being effective or anything like that. I think training is one of the most essential things we need to do in our industry, and they need to be done with consistency, making sure that it's remaining relative, introspective, all of these things. But I think oftentimes our industry, there's a fallacy around training, not that they fall short, that training isn't enough, right? And I think there's a huge difference between the two of those. It's not saying that, hey, you did training and now it's not happening. Well, the training wasn't effective. That's not true. It's where's the accountability? Where's the baseline? What are we training off of? Are we targeting the right information? Are we pinpointing exactly where that training is needed with whom? Because I'll tell you, as a hotel trainer, what happens is you put the star performer in the room and they're hogging up all the training oxygen. Oh, I know the answer to that. Oh, I can do this. And it's like, great, Adam. I'm glad you can do that. And it's clearly that you're doing this, but I really need Jason, who's not using the guest name, to understand the importance of this, right? To be trained and to get that. And so I think what we see is in our industry, we have a fallacy that says training will fix it. Training will not fix it. Training can give the awareness, it can give the tools needed, but you can't train on things that you don't know or you haven't defined. And I like to say, if you can do it wrong, right? If there's a wrong way to do it, it also means there's a right way to do it. And that's what we have to first define. What is the right way? Once we can define the right way and we can have understanding of our performance on that, okay, now we have the execution gap. Until you have that execution gap defined, which is what's the expectation, and you clearly understand what you're delivering, what you're doing, you cannot move these either way. And by the way, they're both movable, right? Because sometimes what we're doing is the right thing and we have to adjust the expectation. You know what? No, we need to change the standard because this is the right thing. This is the right move. And other times it's no, we have to move our behavior to match this expectation. Most of the time, though, it's a blend, right? Of us. And you cannot do this without training. You cannot do this movement without training, but you also can't do it without the data that you need to do the right training, to do the right to have the right understanding. Without that, you can train all you want. But what you're going to do is the same thing. You're going to do rinse, wash, repeat. Every single time, you're going to get different trainers saying the different things. They're all going to say the same things, and your team is just going to cycle through it. And then eventually you're going to hear this. That was a waste of our money and time.
Oof. And you can't do that in this environment. You can't waste money. You can't waste time.
You can't. And quite frankly, what ends up happening is then because it's been viewed as a waste of time or because it's viewed as a waste of money, it doesn't get done, and it's a necessity in our industry. You cannot have an industry with an 80% turnover and not have an investment in training, period.
Right.
You
Right.
can't. But we do. Why? Because we haven't seen the effectiveness of what the training should do. It's actually not because the training's been bad. It's because the training's lacking data and understanding and a base of performance.
You've been involved in a lot of conversations,
Yeah.
I think in particular over the past year with big brands.
Hmm.
What do you think this move by Radisson signals about the rest of the industry?
I love that this week, for maybe anyone that missed it, um, Yippee announced that we have an amazing partnership with Radisson Hotel Group to distribute their standards globally. And when we look at that, across all of their properties, all the countries, all the diversifications, what is this signaling? I think it's a wake up that says, first of all, um, there's a solution, that the standards are important. And I think Radisson being the first one to take this on signals to us and says, look, we're actually serious about providing this clarity and this direction to our properties. And I think that as we look to the future of hospitality, when we look to the future of how we grow as businesses, it has to come back to standards because that is the essence of who we are. And as we want to grow more effectively, the organizations that define their standards and communicate them more clearly, and or who are the best at communicating them and delivering clear and concise directional guidance, those are the brands that will come out on top, especially as we reach past our ability to do this manually. Hospitality is too big. The brands are too big to try to do this through email, through SharePoints, we're talking with a brand that's doing it through Google Slides. Like what? It cannot be done. And I think as we look towards the future of it, we're seeing there's a signal here that the technology has finally caught up with the demand that this industry has.
It has. What is been interesting for me is that there's a lot of different technology. Um, I shared one with you today that I had never heard of before. There's a lot of technology, AI enabled technology, but it seems to be a more accentuated version of what's been for the past decade. Auditing apps, checklists, um, that kind of thing. I don't know. It. I think the problem has lacked a whole system. What we call, kind of how we explain it is, is the whole define, develop, deliver, diagnose,
Yep.
and the last D. Don't tell me because it'll come to me.
Yeah, it'll get there.
Develop.
Develop. There you are.
Boom. Score. Doesn't exist. So back to your point, and that was going to be my next question: is like what can these large brands and large hotel groups expect if they just continue down this road of, well, we've got the auditing app, we've got the secret shoppers, we've got Forbes coming in, we've got
Mhm.
SharePoint, we've got training, we've invested in all this for the year. This is how we do it. It's how we've always done it. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you were saying this. I mean, what can they expect?
But I mean, this is to your chagrin, Jason. I am a cookie connoisseur. Okay.
Yes, I know, and we're gonna fix
I
that.
love cookies. They're the best thing on the planet. It's the greatest treat ever invented. Now, I'll tell you what, you've got butter, milk, eggs, flour, sugar, salt, whatever. You
Yep.
don't have cookies. You certainly don't have cookies. If you don't mix your wet and dry ingredients separately, they're going to turn out different. It's not going to be the best cookie you've ever had in your life. I'll tell you, a phrase we use in our house. I'll tell you that for free, right? Like it's not going to be great. I think that the organizations that want to look at standards or at trying to fix things solely through auditing and then solely through training, I think what they're missing and they're missing to understand is that the two are connected. Standards are the three standards, auditing, training. These are not three separate silos, and many organizations treat them as different silos. It boggles my mind that the standards department is separate from the quality department in many operations. Like, how is that possible? But it's been seen as separate for so long. And what you have is what we're currently dealing with. If you don't adopt, again, properties continue down this way. Hospitality is only growing. We are only adding more hotels to brands. We're building more. Our population is growing. We are traveling more. All that is happening as our industry is growth. Given the ebbs and flows of recessions and all of this, sure, our industry is a growth industry, a perpetual growth industry. And what happens is when organizations fail to define their standards and effectively distribute them throughout their organization, you lose ultimately because you can't control the threads. It gets too untamed, it gets too wild, right? And so as we look to these brands that want to develop, that want to be defined for who they are, and they think, okay, I'm going to do this through training, you won't, because you don't have consistency. Training will never deliver consistency in the industry that we have because of our turnover rate, period. It will not do it as much as we want it to. If you say, great, I've got standards, awesome, you've got standards, that's great. I guarantee you they're not getting to the people that need them. As much as our corporate brains think that they are, oh, I emailed the GM, or it's on our SharePoint, you just have to click here. Like, it's not getting there because they're not clean, they're not organized. And then, okay, we're going to do auditing. Still not enough. The three have to be connected, and they have to be connected through standards, and they have to be connected through data. And that's only through the brand, right? That's we're just talking about brands right now. When you get to the property level, it's a whole new can of worms and all the other standards that they have to deal with on top of brand standards. But in this case, for the properties that don't engage and invest in their standards, they will lose out on the ability to grow, uh, right? And I literally mean just better in all aspects of the word. Better cost controls, better delivery of efficiency, better deliver of productivity, of profitability. Everything relates back to how we do this. And until hotels can make those connections, until the brands can cut through their own mess that they've created, reorganize it, put it together, redistribute it to their organizations, help the teams deliver, diagnose where we're strong, understand where we're weak, put it all together, and then develop their brand as a whole. Okay, this is where we're strong. This is what we need to be doing. Now we have actionable items for the GMs. Now we can say, okay, this property needs training, or this team needs training, or this brand needs training, right? Now we can do that. Or, okay, our auditing has come back and told us this connected piece of data. And then we can start comparing that to guest service scores, guest satisfactions. We can connect it to which properties are actually performing from a profitability standpoint. And when we can come back and measure standard compliance and standard execution against all of those, the story all of a sudden is color. Now we're in Technicolor, right? It's no longer black and white. And pretty soon it'll be 4K, you know?
The data is amazing. The data
Absolutely.
that we are seeing from the hotels use is amazing. It's creating reports that are just like you were saying. I mean, they can pinpoint exactly where their
Well,
challenges are
and this
and
is,
where they're rocking and rolling.
yes, and this is what every hotelier thinks in our heads should be possible. We have said, well, I've got standards. I should be able to tell you exactly how this team is doing, how this person is doing, how this hotel is doing, how this region is doing, how this brand is doing, and how's my entire portfolio doing. Like, our brains know that we should be doing this, but the technology just hasn't been there because of the diversity that exists within our industry. Our industry is a complex place, and it takes, you have to know it. If you don't know it, you can't play in this space. This is,
Yeah.
it is a traveler beware.
Well, let's leave it there. I mean, I know we could keep going.
Oh, let's keep
Uh, you want to keep going?
going. No.
Uh, but this was good. Um, this is good to talk about the shift that we can't ignore anymore. Um, It's happening, and it's great to be in the middle of it. So good talk. Thank you.
This is great. Thanks, Jason.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Talk
All right,
again
till next time. I know we got some. I know we got quite a few people who are clamoring to get on here. Clamoring.
you know what? It's a pleasure to be joined by the people that we are,
Oh,
and
amazing.
we're really fortunate to have people that are so passionate about this industry, and we're excited to continue to bring their
Yes.
stories out.
Passionate. They are passionate. Yeah. So stay tuned. We got some doozies coming up, but we're headed to high tech next week. So if you're
See you
going to
there.
high tech, come see us
Yeehaw!
next
Yippee
Tuesday.
I-O!
My just side note, college roommate is in San Antonio, been there forever. And he just texted me the place to get barbecue.
Done.
Should I say it here or
Yeah, you should say it. Don't keep it a secret.
2M?
2M.
2M barbecue.
That's
Never
the
heard of it,
answer.
but that's where we're headed.
Well, 2M, we're coming your way. We'll be there.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason.